WSGI, and this is Lee Marie on the go. And so glad you all could join us today for our special edition Go Show, which we do every first Friday of the month because we have Wild Doc out here. So let's go to the Lord in prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for all of your blessings. Thank you for having your hand of protection on us. Thank you for taking this show where you want it to go. Thank you for WSGI, for Pat Samler, for Wild Doc, for Laverne. Thank you so much for everybody who's listening. We pray a special blessing on all of them right now. And we just ask that everybody that needs to hear this, that they tune in or that they get this broadcast shared with them. We love you. We praise you. We surrender to you. We need you in the mighty name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Today's the first day of 2024 Wild Doc Show. And one of my resolutions is to get a jungle track for these sound effects buttons here so that when we announce Wild Doc,
Jungle track.
we can, woo-wah! That's one of my resolutions. You gotta have it,
I like it.
I mean, it's better than like a gorilla like going back and forth behind me or something.
right.
Although, do you have a gorilla suit?
And there's a song like "Wild Man." Okay, now. You make my health sing. There you go.
Oh my goodness! If any of you out there don't know Wild Doc yet, I don't know. You've been living under a rock, but
Oh shoot!
you need to go back and look at the other shows because I was listening the other day and it's like, oh my gosh! Every show you give like 87, at least 87 pieces of advice. So, I mean, don't be overwhelmed out there because, I know you're like, oh, I can't do all that. No, but we can chip away and we can gradually do this and gradually change our mindset that we've, had for 50 or 60 years or whatever. And so I know a lot of questions were coming in this time. Everybody was so excited to have you.
Nice.
So I know diabetes was one of them and I know autoimmune was another one. So where would y'all like to start?
I'm up for whatever you ladies want to do.
All right. Well, let's start with the diabetic question then.
Okay.
All right. So people having some maybe leg or foot pain.
Okay.
Told that it was related to diabetes.
Okay.
And so what says you?
Well, here's kind of two things. I would say, well, hopefully it's something as simple as your back being out of alignment, causing some pressure on the nerves that we can correct very quickly with chiropractic. Let's hope for that. The reason I say that is because if you're diabetic and it has been progressing and you're now dealing with foot pain, and especially if you start seeing some of the other neuropathic type pains, pins, needles, itching, numbness accompanied with pain, discoordination, things like that, you are most likely, and then there's the other one where it's claudication, which is basically when you are moving, your muscles are working when you're walking. So if pain increases upon the further and further you walk or the more exercise or going upstairs and things like that, pain is increasing because of that. The mechanism there is poor blood flow and circulation. So both of those latter two. Again, let's hope it's something as simple as your back being in alignment. While that can be pretty bad for some cases, let's hope it's a simple case, if it be that. So get in my clinic, let's evaluate your spine. Let's hope it's that one. Because if it is the other two, then you're at a late stage progressive condition of diabetic neuropathy or diabetic vascular disease. And so you have a whole lot of risks, not just with your legs. You have heart, stroke, all kinds of risks right now. You are at a high risk. You need to start working with somebody, hopefully myself, because I can help you reverse this, okay? I cannot treat diabetic neuropathy, claudication, all that by FDA standards. Drugs are the only things that can treat that diagnosis. But if we look at diet, lifestyle, metabolic disorders, we look at things that help revascularize the tissues, that help nerve growth factor. And I'll actually, in this situation, I'll give you and tell you a little story about he's actually a long-term patient, a friend of mine, and we'll get into that. I'll explain a little bit more of his situation, how it can help this individual who may be dealing with this pain, see the urgency. All right, because it's pretty dang urgent. Because if it's the diabetic neuropathy, if it's a diabetic vascular condition, then their risk of having a wound, ulcer, and then non-healing wound, they could be looking at amputation soon. They have a higher risk of that, big time. Okay. So this can be a sign that uncontrolled sugar and insulin levels, and even just insulin levels themselves, can actually cause damage to blood vessels. And so while the insulin is needed to keep the blood sugar down, the insulin itself, when used in excess and more and more and more, because you're not focused on correcting the causes or helping the person control their sugar naturally the way the body needs it. If it's just the standard medical treatment of diabetes, is why so many of them eventually progress to the point where they die 20 years. Like the average is 20 years off of a person's life, even when they use standard medical treatment for diabetes. It's on average, they lose 20 years of their life.
Wow.
So I'm saying that because, again, medications are treating symptoms. Now, if somebody has type 1 diabetes, you have to have the hormone insulin. So yes, you are giving the hormone. But a lot of times what I'll see is people with type 1 diabetes, while the insulin is necessary, they're not living the lifestyle, or they're not exercising, not doing the things necessary to improve insulin sensitivity, thus reduce the need for more and more insulin over time. And you can see how, if you're not doing the things that keep you healthy, you need the hormone. If your pancreas does not produce insulin, you need it. Okay. So there's a need for that hormone. All right. That prescription. You got to do all the other things, though, to keep yourself healthy, because you're already more susceptible to a progressive condition that would progress way faster than anybody who doesn't have type 1 diabetes. All right. So we can talk about ways in which, like, one of the most effective treatments for, and I'll say this, that it's more of the mechanisms. It's a therapy, a treatment that will enhance the body's recovery from this type of condition and situation. All right. So let's utilize. It is not, again, I have to say, when I mention something like the therapy of hyperbaric oxygen therapy. All right. So it's not the treatment for this when it's not used in a hospital. Sadly, hospitals and wound care centers will only utilize hyperbaric oxygen therapy after, and I know this because of the recent friend of mine and patient of mine long term. Now, his situation was dire because he didn't have the desire to change his lifestyle, take care of himself after his mother and father passed away. So it is a situation where his desire to live really wasn't there. All right. And I could not, his wife could not, nobody could motivate him to make the changes he should have long before this situation. All right. Well, he has severe diabetic neuropathy, claudication. He ignores it. They go on vacation, goes to the beach in Florida. Hot sand literally burnt his feet because of the nerve damage. He couldn't feel it when it was happening. Developed wounds on his feet. Tries to do some, leave it alone, bandage it at home, hoping it would heal. Finally, it's not healing. They go, and his wife's telling me this at one point, and I'm like, you need to get him to a hyperbaric center, or you need to get him into my chambers immediately. He is going to lose his foot if you don't take action now. He was still in the mindset of, like, not really motivated to do much. So I couldn't, his wife couldn't still, even though I'm telling him, you need it. You need to get in. You need it, please. All right, well, the wounds, they said they can do the packing and this different, I don't know what else they were doing. Finally, the wife, in the next visit to their wound care center, can we get hyperbarics? Our chiropractor is saying hyperbarics, and it's an FDA-approved reason, once you have a wound that won't heal, that they will treat a diabetic neuropathy wound. All right. It's one of the 14, 15. It's kind of like that 15th is like iffy whether you get it, but we kind of typically and traditionally say there's 14 things that the United States FDA approves for insurance reimbursement for hyperbarics, one of which is a wound that won't heal, especially in diabetic neuropathies. So here's the catch-22. Insurance doesn't cover it until the person is under care of a wound care center for 30 days.
Oh, goodness.
So what happens in this situation that you don't take action right away and you need, because of severe infection, gangrene, all the stuff that a wound that won't heal can create and cause, and sepsis and all this. So what if they need to amputate to save your life or prevent sepsis and these other complications before the 30-day mark? Oh, it's 29. We got to amputate today because you're not going to make it to 30. So they amputated because he couldn't make it to 30 days without the need. I've seen this happen twice. Because after the 30 days, they've started hyperbarics. Now I'm going to tell you, my cost for hyperbarics is not this. You know what he told me yesterday? He said, Doc, you want to know how much they're charging my insurance for each session lasting? I think they're doing like 2-hour sessions. $5,500 for 2 hours. $5,500 per session. He was approved for 40. Do the math on that. The wound is healing amazing. And guess what? He is now off of metformin. He is now significantly reduced his insulin because hyperbarics, one of the mechanisms and benefits is improved insulin sensitivity. So your body uses insulin more efficiently. So guess what? I would say just by understanding that mechanism, while you should be doing the exercise, the diet, lifestyle, all the other things that improve insulin sensitivity, reduce glucose metabolism, improve liver function, all that, you should be doing all that already. And if you just want to optimize your health because you're somebody with type 1 or diabetes type 2, you know what? And you want to improve insulin sensitivity, shoot, if you had the money, I'd be doing hyperbarics myself. Maybe you should invest in a hyperbaric chamber yourself. So you think about this. This is the way our healthcare systems run and insurance works. We're just going to wait until you are at the brink of death or brink of loss of a limb. And then, you know what? We'll justify the use of a therapy that could have saved that limb in the first place. Well, he's already lost part of his foot. But now, thank God, he has a new lease on life. He's thanking God for actually waking him up. Like he's a different person. Emotionally, personalities come back, things like that I saw in him before his mother and father passed away. So it's kind of a good thing. It's because I don't. If your hand causes you to sin, or and you know what I mean, cut it off. Well, if you're not really living life and praising the Lord, and he kind of separated himself from the Lord, he kind of lost, I think, some faith and trust in God, or, there may have been some anger there and things like that. So, I mean, now he's got a new lease on life and his faith in the Lord. He's going back to church. So it's kind of like he needed it for his faith. I see that from that perception. Exactly. So it's in his situation, it's like, all right, God, why did we have to cut his foot off to wake him up to learn, not the whole foot, but parts of the foot, And so why couldn't it have been just the pinky toe, And couldn't that be enough? He's probably thinking that. But, he'll probably watch this in the clinic and get a chuckle out of it just because he's got that mindset back. But, let's talk about this. In this individual that's asking the question, they're having leg pain. All right. Well, hyperbaric therapy is able to revascularize. It promotes vascular endothelial growth factor. All right. So the chambers we utilize in my clinic, while I was suggesting to this gentleman, my friend, I'm like, you need to get in their chambers in the hospital ASAP. Of course, they had to wait the 30 days, had to amputate already. And once they're in the chambers, because they're doing 2.2 or 3 atmospheres. That's a huge amount of pressure. All right. That level of pressure, actually, they'll send people in with diabetes. They'll send them into the chambers with like juice boxes and things like that to make sure that their insulin isn't so sensitive that they crash in their blood sugar. Now, the chambers we use is less pressure, so it doesn't have as strong of effect as quickly. All right. So if somebody is dealing with a wound, I am like, get into the wound care center, pray you make it 30 days, and then your insurance will pay for it, and you push like crazy. All right?
Or just go to the wild doc.
Yeah. Or come to me, and hopefully we can head it off beforehand or use it for the 30 days prior to, and we'll keep you in the chambers. It's cash. It's not $5,500. It's a fraction of that. We're going to charge 50% from now on, I think, of what the insurance is. Is that fair? Is that fair?
So you're raising your prices?
Exactly. You know, how about just 10% per session? I'll charge 10% of what 5,500. So there, do the math. No, it's actually way less than that. You know, sessions, depending on how many you need in my chambers, in my clinic, can range from $80 on up to $150, depending on how many sessions an individual would need, how many hours. So that's like an per hour fee. All right. So, but let's get this under control. Let's figure out what is the cause. Again, going back to step one, let's see if it's a spinal problem. It's misalignment to your spine. Your diabetes is not what's progressed to this point where you're now having damage to your nerves and your blood vessels in your legs. And then if you don't have blood flow, adequate blood flow, and you don't have adequate nerve supply, you're on, and you don't turn around your health, you're on the path to losing your legs, losing a foot. Maybe that will be I hope it's not the moment for this individual to wake up and make a change. You know what I mean? But so back to hyperbarics, vascular endothelial growth factor and also nerve growth factor are all increased after a time period of undergoing hyperbaric therapy. All right. And so you start to reverse this effect, the damage to the nerves, the blood vessels. You improve insulin sensitivity with these chambers and with the therapy. By doing so, what's going to happen to that person with diabetes and possible neuropathy, possible vascular damage? Well, you're regrowing new blood vessels, you're restoring blood flow, you're improving your insulin sensitivity, and thus the dilemma of like the language I have to try and use is like, okay, you know, your body is healing from and reversing this the progressive stages. You're backtracking your diabetes. You should always be doing the lifestyle factors. You should always be doing all the other things that improve metabolic regulation. Okay, so we would approach this in my clinic from a multifaceted approach. All right, one, again, let's see if it's back pain, sciatic nerve pain. Okay, from the back being out of alignment, we could adjust a few times. Now, as I adjust the lower back for that purpose, you may actually see, and I've had this in several patients that have come in, one of which it's just kind of a cool little, the way I like to tell it is a gentleman came in because he had a car accident. So he had neck pain. Well, he was a diabetic, had diabetes and high blood pressure. Started adjusting him, and all I'm doing is treating his spine. Nothing else recommended, because it's a car accident. Okay, well, you got back pain and stuff like that. So, and this was years ago in this case. I started adjusting him, and his blood pressure and his sugar levels started to drop considerably with all that I did was chiropractic. All right. What I was doing was treating his cervical spine. Everywhere in the spine, he had problems and misalignments. Well, one of the areas of primary misalignment was in his neck from the whiplash injury. Well, that gave me reason to treat. Well, a side effect of my treatment is pressure coming off the brainstem, off the cervical spine. That improves insulin sensitivity, improves pancreatic function, improves metabolic responses and health. So people may think, you might think there might be an endocrinologist, diabetic specialist, be like, that chiropractor's crazy. There is no way his chiropractic adjustments did that. Well, the adjustments really didn't do it. It was the increase in communication between his brain and his body. It was the neural regulation of your blood sugar. All right. The neural control, the nervous system controls your pancreas. So I have an article it's actually a research journal, it's a clinical trial. It's the Surgical Neurology International from September 2nd of 2010. And it's diabetes type 2, pressure on the brainstem. They did surgical removal and decompression. They decompressed the brainstem of type 2 diabetics, multiple of the patients. So they went in, took a knife, cut tissue out from around the brainstem, you're all, but yet people look at me. I don't want you to touch my neck and adjust me. And I'm like, okay, go get a surgery then. Have somebody do it with a knife. Oh, no. But I love the way you just, I kind of say it that way because it's like, I want to see responses. It's fun to see those responses. But they basically wallered out the foramen magnum, the brainstem, the atlas region, and took pressure off the brainstem with a surgery, with a mechanical, like a knife. So they reversed diabetes. People woke up out of the hospital bed after the surgery completely regulating their blood sugar, not needing any medications after the surgery. Multiple patients in that study. Again, if brainstem compression is a component, you're going to see that. If you're drinking way too many 2 liters of Mountain Dew every single day and you don't have brainstem compression, well, luckily you don't have brainstem compression, and you can have brainstem compression in your regular areas without any cervical spinal pain. Okay? That's where people miss the boat in understanding, and they're like, well, I don't have any spinal problems. How do you know I have a misalignment? Let's take some x-rays. Let's evaluate the spinal alignment. Let's improve the structure and alignment of the spine, take stress off the nervous system, and guess what? Your body's going to function better every single time. Sometimes enough stress on the spinal cord and nervous system is only about 10% or 20%. These are theoretical numbers. It's just kind of a simple explanation I'm giving here, that it's contributing to your dysregulated metabolic state, your blood sugar regulation. So we could adjust and see improvements, but not all the way reversed. Because you're eating a horrible lifestyle. You're eating the standard American diet. Do you follow me? Mm-hmm. Which contributes. You're overweight. And that was one of the key things that I always mention from that journal of doing surgery on the brainstem of type 2 diabetics. It says specifically it was not as effective for obese patients. Mm-hmm. They have another contributing factor. Do you follow me? Mm-hmm. But there are non-obese patients who are dealing with diabetes. The car accident patient I'm talking about, he wasn't obese, but he had type 2 diabetes and high blood pressure. He was those anomalies in medicine. Well, usually it's diet. You just need to eat better and exercise. Well, doc, I'm not eating horrible and I'm physically active. I wouldn't say he was an exercise, fanatic, but he wasn't obese. He was the unlucky one that got it. Oh, it's probably your genetics. That's what they always say, Luckily, gets in a car accident again. God was like, hey, I want to send you to Dr. Dale, the wild doc. And the way I'm going to do it, you're going to get in a car accident. You're going to learn that your insurance covers auto injuries. So you're going to go. So he came into me, took pressure off his brainstem, off his nervous system. And that was all it took for him to no longer need any of his medications for blood pressure or his diabetic medications. All right. Because everything normalized. And it was his medical physician that actually took him off. So it wasn't me. I wasn't treating diabetes, wasn't treating high blood pressure. I was treating misalignments of spine I was treating misalignments of spine while they were caused. Many of the pain and symptoms were caused by the auto accident. Obviously, he had diabetes and high blood pressure before the auto accident. So I was treating misalignments to get him out of pain. But the additional benefits was the improvements in his blood pressure and his blood sugars. So do you see how we need doctors in America. People need doctors in America to start thinking about what are all the possible mechanisms that contribute and drive these chronic diseases. All right. And let's start chipping away at every one of those associated factors. And some people, all I've got to do is sit down with them, have a discussion about their life. And sometimes we can tie back certain onsets of conditions after an auto accident. They got a whiplash injury and all of a sudden they had high blood pressure. Heard it all the time. Got an auto accident, and then a few months later they start having these chronic problems and they wind up with, getting a metabolic test at their doctor's office, checkup, they're doing blood work. Well, your glucose is high. Well, why? Your spine out of alignment, causing stress on your nervous system. Do you know when you're under stress, your body's going to reduce more glycogen and glucose into the bloodstream because glucose is kind of like fuel. You ever feed a kid sugar? They're hyper, bouncing off the walls. So what does your body know it wants to do when it's under stress? It wants jet fuel to run as far and as fast as you can. You're right, Pat. It wants more energy. And a great energy source on top of oxygen is sugar, glycogen. So it dumps all that into the body so that you can run as far and as fast as you need to escape that tiger, that stressor.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Cage the tiger, stress goes away, body goes back into balance and normal regulation. But if you don't correct the misalignment that's causing the neurological stress response in the body, you're going to chronically be having more sugar circulating throughout your bloodstream. Does that make sense?
Yep.
This is so helpful because I know that so many more people, it seems, are being diabetic these days.
Yeah. So I'm going to do this. Let me give my phone number. This person out there, whoever asked that question, please give my office a call, 931-591-2010, 931-591-2010. My staff will return your phone call next week if you leave a message. Let's get you in. Let's get you taken care of. Let's make sure that we identify the underlying cause of this foot and leg pain.
Thank you so much. That was a great segment, and it's now time for one of our commercial breaks. So let's go ahead and hear from Curated Collections.
In the heart of Springfield Square, former location of Birdette's Tea Shop, lies Curated Collections, a unique furnishing boutique, which not only carries absolutely beautiful accent pieces, but also houses one of our area's top designers, Carol Carter. Come meet Carol and find out how she can customize your home. Frame a view, soften a room, add depth, dimension, and interest. With a large line of upholstery fabrics, she can restyle and recover any piece of furniture. She does custom draperies, pre-made panels, Roman shades, and more. Store hours are Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., and Saturday, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Curated Collections is located at 618 South Main Street, Springfield, Tennessee. For more information, call 615-681-0029. Be sure to tell them Lee Marie sent you.
Okay, we are back here with our special edition Go Show with the Wild Doc. And you know that the Go Show is your source for information and inspiration, and always a few dates to add to your calendar. So I'm going to take this time right now just to give you a few dates to add to your calendar. Yesterday, we had on a couple guys talking about the inspirations that are coming to town next Thursday. So if you missed any part of yesterday's show, I highly recommend you watch it because we had John Briggs and T. Rawls on, and it was a really great fun show about a lot of the different people within Robertson County, the different bands, the different churches, and just it was a great historical segment. So I highly recommend that you go on the WSGI Facebook page or website and watch yesterday's show. But anyways, yes, Thursday, January 11th, the Inspirations are coming to Ebenezer Baptist Church, which is in Greenbrier, right here. And they are amazing. The show's going to start at 7 p.m., and it is a $10 suggested donation to come in. They're coming from North Carolina, so we want to try to help with those expenses. And I guarantee you, you will not be disappointed in the Inspirations. I hope all you guys will check that out. Also, this is the first weekend of the month, which means this Saturday, the local GOP is doing their Patriot Potluck over at Purpose Life Church at 805 Memorial Boulevard in Springfield. The Patriot Breakfast, starts at 8:30. The program starts at 9, and that again is at Purpose Life over in Springfield, 805 Memorial Boulevard. And then, of course, this coming Monday, even though it is only the 8th, it is already time for the TFA, and that's a shirt I got on right here. The TFA Patriot Potluck is happening at the American Legion in Greenbrier, so you want to make it out to that. It's all ages, it's free. Usually they eat at 6, and then they have a program at 6:30. And so they're going to be talking about the threats to your Second Amendment and also going over some really good tips for self-defense in real life situations. So you're going to want to come out this Monday. I know it's the 8th, and usually we meet on a double digit, so people are confused. But yes, the 8th is the second Monday of the month, and the Second Amendment Club always meets on the second Monday. So that is this coming Monday, January 8th at the American Legion in Greenbrier. So anyways, if you are listening on the radio, remember you can also watch on WSGI's Facebook page or their app. And there is a place for comments. So you can always put in a comment or a question or perhaps a topic that you would like to see us cover next time. But we just covered diabetes, a real great segment on that. And so if you missed any part of that, by all means, go ahead and rewind it after the show's over and forward it to your friends that need to hear that, because that literally can be life-saving. And, I thought it was real interesting what you said about, people are more afraid of chiropractic care than surgery.
I've seen it.
Ah,
I have seen it. And sad. It really is.
it is sad. I mean, so many things can go wrong. Like I know one time, many, many years ago, I was having some wrist issues and arm issues, and I had gone to several doctors, and finally this one said, well, we're going to operate. We're going to take out part of the bone. Your arm is too long, and we're going to put in a plate, and then we're going to, and then have another surgery to take that out. And luckily, I had a friend who was a doctor, and he said, "No, I'm going to have you go to my friend who's the top hand surgeon at UCLA, I think it was." And so I went, and he's like, "No, you're not having surgery. You're getting put in a cast." I was in a cast for 4 or 5 weeks, never had another pain.
Nice.
And the reason why my friend was just so when he heard the word surgery, is he was a doctor, he said, "Oh no, do you know how many things can go wrong with a surgery? Anytime you're opening, I mean, we're not supposed to be open just willy-nilly all the time." So anyways, but yeah, that point was really good that you said, because you're right. So many people, have this strange idea that they're going to go to a chiropractor, they're going to break your neck and you're going to die.
Yeah.
And that is just so wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, anyways, I was glad that you brought that up, because I do know a lot of people that want to keep continuing going for more tests. And they say, well, I can't afford to go to a chiropractor. I don't think my insurance is going to cover all of it. So I'm just going to keep going for tests on symptoms.
So the average person with diabetes, once they retire, they need $300,000 in their cash accounts, bank accounts, retirement accounts. That's the average out-of-pocket expense.
Really? Wow.
Oh.
Medically treated with Medicare and all the other insurances. That is the average amount of money you will spend. I will give anyone out there dealing with diabetes who's retired, you pay me $300,000, I will treat you with all of my tools. I will help you every way I possibly can for the rest of your life.
And your family.
And I guarantee you will make it more years with higher quality of life, less medications. You'll save money on drugs and things like that, because once you get healthy, you don't need them anymore. I'll make a deal, right? You just pay me what you're going to pay them. Just pay. I've said that so many times. You know what I mean? It's like, man, if I could just make the money that they will spend or their insurance will pay for the reactive care model. Once the gentleman amputated a portion of his foot, and now they're paying him, if I could just make that $5,500 per 2-hour sessions, you know what I mean? Man, oh man.
You'd be having a real,
You know what I mean?
a real Wild Roots resort.
Exactly. But it's like they allowed the system in America, the medical community, sadly, and again, there are good medical doctors out there. Don't get me wrong. But if they're good, then they should be taking a lot more time helping you and coaching you in your health and lifestyle. They should be sending you to chiropractors to eliminate the potential of nerve pressure, nerve interference, spinal alignment problems. You know what I mean? They should be doing the healthy things, the natural things, the preventive things, not the, your blood sugar's high, here's metformin. Oh, it keeps getting higher, here's insulin. Oh,
Another
it keeps
Band-Aid.
getting higher, let's put you on another one.
Feel free to yell.
Like that's not a good doctor. That's a drug dealer. That's what they are. They're just dealing drugs and they're not doing anything else. You know what I mean? So they're not correcting cause. If the doctor is not discussing with you what is contributing, causing your conditions, then
So they're
I just-
treating actually
symptoms.
which is actually suppressing the
Yes.
symptom, which is what your body's trying to tell you something's wrong.
Yep. Which this is a good one. Like we said that, and there was something that I was just reading this morning. I'm wondering if it's in this article or another one, but you ladies send me the question about Sjogren's syndrome, Sjogren's syndrome or disease. It's an autoimmune disease. I was thinking it was this one. I'd love to find it to read it verbatim.
Well, while you look for it,
Go
I
ahead.
actually have another sponsor break I can do, because we do have
Okay.
3 sponsors. So this is a great time to do that. All right, let's go ahead. I know that a lot of you guys got those Amazon packages that you need to return after Christmas. So here you go. Here's UPS.
Hi there, this is Tom Fox, and my family and I are the new owners at the UPS store in Springfield, Tennessee. We can help you with all your packing and shipping needs. I have our assistant manager, Daniel Sweeten, here with me, who's one of the friendly faces greeting you when you come in. Tell us about the print shop, Daniel.
We're a one-stop print shop for all your personal and business needs. We can copy, print, scan, finish, and do just about anything you can imagine we can print. We also do wide format printing such as blueprints, yard signs, banners, and we also do business cards, flyers, invitations, and booklets.
Our hours are 8 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 Saturday, and noon to 5 on Sunday.
Our shredding service is normally $1.59 a pound. This month we're slashing it in half to 79 cents a pound. We also have 20% off our wide format printing for the entire month.
We're located next to HD Hills at 513 Memorial Boulevard. Just look for the blue awning. Come by and see us, as it's always a great day at the UPS store. Test score.
All right, we are back with Wild Doc and Pat Samler, who one of her many claims to fame is that she brought us Wild Doc.
Yep.
How many lives has he
I knew him
saved?
first. I knew him first.
That's right. That's right. What year did y'all meet anyway?
Oh my gosh.
I don't even remember.
Probably 3 or 4
Yeah.
years ago, I bet.
Yeah, right up. Probably shortly after I moved here.
Was it about the COVID pandemic start around in that time
was
frame
before
or
that.
before that?
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
before that.
yeah. Luckily for you, I was able to help you.
That's right. I was already in the safe place.
Yep.
Well, I'm so glad you met. So,
Yes.
did you want to go on to the next topic, or did you find?
Yeah,
another
so I
quote
found that
okay.
quote and it'll finish my thought out, which is like, we need to start looking at, doctors in the system sadly will let people they allow people because guess what? If you're ready to lose a leg, how much are you going to pay me to save it?
Gee, yeah.
What would you pay? What would you do? If you're about ready to die, how much would you pay? If you got cancer, how much would you pay to try to survive?
Much as you could, right?
Yeah. So, okay, why do the system allows that because it knows, the industry knows, the drug companies know, the hospitals know that when you're in an emergent situation, you don't care.
Yeah.
Do the therapies first, do the treatments first. I'll figure out how much it's going to cost me later.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's kind of the situation my wife and I are in because my little girl cut her finger really bad and cut a tendon and ligaments and a nerve. So we had to have it surgically repaired. Do you think I was like, it's a little steep. I don't know if I want to do that. I'm like, at least it ain't the middle finger. It's the ring finger that sticks straight out, Looks like she's flipping everybody off, but she's not really. So we can deal with it. Or we could have amputated it and that would have been cheaper. So what do you think Mom and I did? We said we don't care. We didn't really care how much it was going to cost. We were going to get our little girl's finger working again. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so that's different because that's a trauma or accident. You know what I mean? And so, and I can say for the use of her finger, I'll justify I'll pay that money. You know what I mean? But sadly, it's like they rake people through the coals, taking their retirements, taking everything because they can. Or the insurances pay for it, and really that's a money laundering scheme, putting money into the hands. Again, $5,500 per session for hyperbarics paid by the insurance. 40 sessions approved because of what it will do. Well, if they would have paid me that, I could have afforded a hard chamber, could have got those levels of pressure, could have treated this one patient, and then I could have said, okay, I've paid for my equipment. Now I'll charge $100 a session for anybody else who wants to utilize it. But no, the wound care centers are only allowed to charge the insurance. I couldn't even charge the insurance. You know what I mean? Like the system's so rigged to where they monopolize the people who can provide the services, who would get that strong reimbursement from the insurances.
Yep.
Like he could have bought a chamber for what it would cost him, what the insurance paid for 3 sessions. You know what I mean? Like he could have bought his own soft chamber for his home.
So crazy.
We got to have you
What's
come out.
Yeah. All right. So
We're running out of
we
time.
need to work and reverse. Yeah. So So this is an article, Therapeutic Effects of Modified Zen. I don't know how to pronounce that. Do you?
Zingi? I don't know.
It's Chinese medicine, so it's in
Zingi.
Chinese. Or it's like in English language, what Chinese description? All right. Decoction. So decoction is basically a tea that is simmered for a long period of time, usually like an hour or 2 hours. Okay. So it's herbs decocted, which is a strong, like a tea is you put it in a hot glass of water and it's not simmering, it's not boiling, it's on no heat source. You're doing that for usually 2-3 minutes. Decoction is simmered on heat source for 2 hours, let's say, okay, to extract more of the medicinal properties, and it's usually a lot more potent. All right, on primary Sjogren's syndrome and its effects on plasma exosomal proteins. So, however, they're talking about like the traditional Chinese medicine, these 3 herbs they use, plus they did detoxification with several other herbs, but they said, however, the existing treatments are primarily unsuccessful in improving symptoms and disease progression. They're talking about the medical standard treatment, which insurance will pay for.
Right.
So insurance will pay for treatments that are primarily unsuccessful in improving symptoms and disease progression. That's what it should. That's what it should say.
What condition are you talking about now?
Sjogren's.
Sjogren's,
Autoimmune.
Sjogren's. I always
It's an
pronounce it
autoimmune.
oddly.
It's an autoimmune
Okay.
disease.
All right. Just want to make
Yep.
sure.
So it's an autoimmune disease attacking your lacrimal glands that produce your tears and your saliva.
Okay.
So then it's dry eyes and dry mouth, like severe. Okay. So they used Chinese figwort, a mondo grass, and Romania. Those are the 3 herbs they utilized. Yeah. You
sounds
know about
familiar.
Romania. So they also utilized several artemisinin, which is like a wormwood, and several other herbs to detoxify the body. It was more effective than the treatments that are primarily unsuccessful. So but it's not approved by the FDA and won't be paid by your insurance. Sadly, I'm sorry. Do you see how sad our
So you might have
system
to spring
is?
for 50,
God-
$60 for a
Yeah.
tincture at Dr.
God's
Walmart.
herbs, the Lord's creations, are not covered by insurance.
Because they can't bottle. it.
Sorry,
Yeah.
they can't patent it
Yeah.
because of the stipulations and the legal requirements to achieve FDA approval are so specific in that it needs to be a pharmaceutical drug. Like it has to be a chemical man-made drug. We live in man's world here. We live in the devil's playground, all right? We live in a corrupt society, period. We do. I'm pretty sure the Bible's clear about that. That it's money is the root of all evil. The love of money is the root of all evil. Who loves money more than anybody else and makes more money than anybody else, any other industry out there? It's the pharmaceutical industry.
We've been warned
Who
about
lobbies
them.
to our government more than any other industry out there? It's the pharmaceutical companies. So, and who has defrauded the American government for more money than any other industry? It's the pharmaceutical companies, folks. So let's
I
just
think
use
we're
some
gonna
common
need to have
sense
you
here.
come out to another venue and give a talk on that because that's
We have such a corrupt society. I have watched. It's one of the things on a side note. It's like it's frustrating, sad, but also it's like, man, if I ever have a little extra money, I'm having on my 5th kid. How to get extra money? We got 5 kids on the way, but
And when is your 5th due?
any day. I mean, my
day.
wife could text me
saw-
right
oh my
now and
gosh.
say, "Hey, my
Sorry,
belly's
yesterday-
getting tight."
Yesterday or day before, whatever I was.
Yeah.
Wow, thank you for being here.
So-
Goodness.
But there's so I don't know, off topic, but it's like watching politicians like stock trading and how they stock trade with pharmaceutical industries and things like that or other industries, and they just make millions. It's like, how did they know it was going to skyrocket all of a sudden? How did Pelosi know? How did she sell right before it tanked? How did that? I want to know their investing companies. So, anyways, but it's like you look at, man, that's, one of the reasons I chose, and, people started calling me the wild doc because I love being out in the wilderness and things like that for personal reasons. Just, it's therapeutic sitting in a deer stand, fishing a river, But then, when I started realizing that, there's a way to help people realize that the Lord provided for them. And we can give glory back to the Lord by saying, hey, you know, this medicinal plant that God created, it has all of these scientific effects. I mean, we could go into mechanisms and things like that of reduction in tumor necrosis factor alpha, improvements in cytokine profiles, balancing of the Th2, Th1 immune response. It's regulating the body's immune response so as to allow for this autoimmune condition, this attack on your own tissue, to be improved or downregulated because it helps your body regulate itself. And these are God's herbs.
Can I ask this too? So, in autoimmune, is it not true that most autoimmune diseases, the root and some of the treatment, the natural treatment, it would be the same, right? Because autoimmune is autoimmune, right?
Yes. So you have, so when you look at
For
autoimmune
instance,
diseases of any
rheumatoid
type,
arthritis.
you're always going to go about it on what is going to improve the regulation of the immune system. Because when you look at like triggers of autoimmunity, so if you were to just for purposes of censorship, we're not going to say the exact terminology, but an environmental trigger that was injected into a whole bunch of people here recently. If you just Google this condition, autoimmune, you're going to find that the thing that was used in the last couple years is a well-known, established, proven cause of autoimmune disease. So many cases, and now court cases and everything else knowing, yeah, it does. And we know, I mean, there's an entire book on these things that we give our children are known to cause autoimmune diseases. Yeah. It's the textbook is called, I don't think we get censored for this. I'm just reading off a textbook by Hayuda. It's Dr. Hayuda. He's out of Israel. One of the forefront endocrinologists, immunologists. He wrote the textbook Vaccines and Autoimmunity. And you can read about how they can inject tetanus toxoid into mice and cause autoimmune diseases, especially when they combine it with other environmental allergens or tissues.
And how do you spell his name? Do you know?
Yehuda, it's like Yahuda, I believe. Yehuda.
People kind of an idea.
So, and he's not anti-vaccine. He's actually pro-vaccine, but he's pro, like, let's figure out how not to trigger autoimmune diseases.
Don't want to say that word too many times. 'cause
I know,
it'll get
right? We're
censored.
probably sorry. Okay,
Okay.
sorry. Rumble, we'll get this offline and get it on Rumble as soon as possible, right?
Yeah.
But it's like I'm just stating this. If you look up, it's a Wiley, not Wiley Coyote. It's Wiley is the I believe it's an editor. It's a publication for medical textbooks. So this is a medical textbook I'm referring to. So really good stuff. But it will show you that we know infectious diseases. We know other environmental triggers. There was a paper that I found just kind of brushing up on Sjogren's was that medical implants, silicone implants, things like that were found to be a trigger. So you have foreign objects. Foreign objects will mount an immune response. A foreign body or a foreign kidney, not your kidney, they have to give you medications to suppress your immune system so you don't reject it. So when having a foreign body, even if it's a human tissue in your body or a foreign object in your body or a IUD in your body, it's a foreign object, ladies. Things like
What
that
about
can
tooth implants?
foreign object in your body.
Mm.
All of them, while certain ones it seems have more association with the onset of autoimmunity, things like that. So there's infectious diseases, the bacterial diseases. There's allergies to foods that can be triggers to the immune system that can mimic certain tissues of your body, thus promoting the development and triggering the development of an autoimmune condition. So when you look at autoimmunity, we want to say, okay, one thing I say is if an infectious disease can cause an autoimmune disease, but not everybody who gets that infectious disease, and the same thing with an environmental trigger. Everybody who has an environmental trigger that they've received or have it implanted doesn't get an autoimmune disease, then that's not the sole cause. It comes back to the person's capability of regulating their immune system, fighting off that infection or dealing with that foreign body, and then the regulation of the autoimmune inflammatory responses that can be promoted by the exposure to that environmental factors. You see how, like, it's simple, complicated, I guess some people say, but I'm like, that's simple. It's just the way it works. So let's think about how we undo all of that. So let's actually strengthen your immune system so that you can fight off and remove an infectious disease from your body. Retroviruses are known to cause Sjogren's.
Okay, so retroviruses that such as
So like HIV is a retrovirus. Now here's an irony that many people will say is, well, autoimmune diseases are too strong of an immune system. This is one of the most common myths I see in the discussion online amongst people. Well, you don't want to ever use herbs that could strengthen your immune system because autoimmunity is too strong of an immune response, and that's what causes autoimmune. No, it's not. It's a dysregulated immune response. And actually, many herbs that people wrongfully refer to as immune stimulants, they're actually immunoregulatory. So Romania is an immunoregulatory herb, all right? But it can actually help you fight off an infection. So then people will say, well, if something helps you fight off an infection, then it's an immune stimulant. It strengthens your immune system. It boosts your immune system. Oh, you don't want to take that when you don't take anything that boosts your immune system when you have an autoimmune disease. But traditional Chinese medicine, and this peer-reviewed, hundreds of patients, shows that it's better than the insurance paid for primarily unsuccessful treatments.
That kind of reminds me of how they say don't eat grapefruit if you're on high blood pressure medicine because it lowers your
blood pressure because then the drug will yeah. That's one of the things that I'll talk to people, whether it be person getting into chiropractic care. Again, maybe we're treating neck pain, but they have diabetes or high blood pressure, or they're getting into the hyperbaric chamber, or they're changing their nutrition. I tell them, if I took your medications right now, my blood pressure is normal, my blood sugar is great. If I took your blood pressure and diabetic medications right now at your dosages, what would probably happen to me? Well, it would probably tank your blood sugar and probably lower your blood pressure or your blood sugar too low, and you'd probably be in trouble. Yeah. So you take a healthy person, you give them medication that could kill them or harm them, put them in an emergency situation. So when you start getting healthier, you better make sure that your doctor is ready to take you off of those medications or reduce those medications in a stepwise fashion so that by getting healthier, you know what I mean? Like the complication doesn't come from the grapefruit. The complication comes from you getting healthier, and your medication is the cause of the complication because it will force your body to do something it doesn't need and shouldn't be doing.
All right, we do have one last commercial to get in here, so I got to make sure. I know we have so much fun when you're here. There's so much great information. It's just, oh man, wish we could have you on more often. But anyway, okay, located at 1000 Main Street in the heart of historic Springfield lies the Southside Drug Company, which has delivered hometown-friendly service since 1919. They offer compression stocking fittings, nebulizers, walkers, shower chairs, lots of things that you wouldn't even think were in that place, but it is a neighborhood pharmacy where the people know your name, and those are getting more rare as we go through life. So make sure that you are supporting them. They're right across the street from the Depot restaurant, and their hours are Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Saturday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. For more information, you can go to southsidedrugco.com. That is southsidedrugco.com. And of course, make sure you tell them that Lee Marie sent you. All right, we just have 2 minutes left, and we need to get a closing prayer in. So is there anything you want to say in 60 seconds?
I mean, there's not a whole lot I can say.
Give your phone number. Give your phone number again.
The office phone number is 931-591-2010. Again, that's 931-591-2010. Man, I hope the people that were out there listening, God probably tuned you into this show, or you know a loved one or family member that are dealing with these conditions and issues, or they're dealing with something else. Again, what I do in my clinic is I have intensive conversations with my patients. I take the time necessary to understand their life, what brought them to where they are today, why their blood markers are out of control, why they're dealing with this condition, and then we figure out the why. Again, you heard a lot of whys there. Why, and then we know how we can start reversing their health.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Wild Doc, for joining us. And Pat Samler, thank you for joining us as well. Pat, would you like to do a closing prayer?
Sure. And I think we need to have the wild doc back for this autoimmune thing because there's so many people. I mean,
Oh, yeah. We'll have a part 2. That'll be the next
yeah,
one.
I've got a PowerPoint presentation on autoimmune diseases. That is 75 slides if you want to go through them. at some point. And
I mean, lupus and RA and all
So
these
much,
things.
yeah.
You know, I just know
Yeah.
so many people. But
Okay.
well, Father, I thank you for this day, and I thank you for the wild doc. I thank you for his family, Lord. I ask that you bless them, bless his office, Lord, and God. I just ask that every listener that tuned in today, Lord God, that I pray that they would receive something that could help them in this information and that they would just take the steps necessary to live a productive and healthy life in 2024. In Jesus' name.
Amen. Thank you
Amen.
so much for joining us. You've been listening to 1100 WSGI. Make it a great day.